Capricorn Sun and Rising. Welcome to your July 2023 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So, July is a lot less full of drama, I would say, although that can be on paper and not in your real life. It depends on the individual. But that's just how things are when you have eclipses, as we did in April and May. And then in June, we had some retrogrades and something else. Oh, yeah. The solar, no, not solar eclipse, the solstice. So, by the way, these transits are kind of trending towards the cardinal signs, so they directly impact Capricorn. The Aries solar eclipse, that's the first one in a series with Libra. You're going to have the Libra one this fall, or this October, I should say. And there's also things happening in, like right now, because of Cancer. That's your opposite sign. That's opposing you. The other two cardinal signs, Aries and Libra, square you, but all three of those signs are creating hard angles, which means that there could be friction, there could be tension, or there could be some kind of extreme situation that comes about. For instance, with the Cancer energy, this is in your seventh house. So there could be like some kind of trigger to relationships. And yes, romantic ones, like I was going to say husband and wife, but just say spouses, is the first thing you think about. But it's also about partnerships in business and one-on-one relationships that you have with anybody, really. And the seventh house is also public relations, and it's the area of legal matters. So those kinds of things can be front and center in July. The sun is in this area, as is Mercury as the month begins. So there might be something that you are negotiating with another party, and it has legal implications. If it is connected to anything like an inheritance or divorce kind of proceeds, then you can look to, I would say, the beginning of August for perhaps a resolution, because the full moon will be in the sign of Aquarius, and it'll actually be at 9 degrees of Aquarius, and the number 9 is a number of completion as well. And so that's your eighth house, which can be shared resources, inheritance, or, when you're in a marriage and you're not in a marriage after the fact, those kinds of things. So, you have a time for everything. You have a season for everything. And that includes these kinds of connections you have with other people. Like, one day you're sharing your bank account with somebody, and the next day they might be cleaning it out from under your nose or something, and you have to go take care of that. Okay, so in addition to that, on the 3rd of the month, there's a full moon in your sign. So at the time of every full moon, the sun is in the opposing sign. Sun is in Cancer at that 11-degree mark that the full moon is at, and 11 is a master number. I say this sometimes because the degree, if you look at it in terms of numerology, there can be this additional information. And it's funny because some of you may be familiar with Sabian symbols. And I have heard other astrologers and other people doing spiritual type of readings talk about Sabian symbols, and I never really resonated with it. I actually remember checking a book out of the library with just all about Sabian symbols, and it didn't make any sense. It's basically that each degree, or like, actually, it doesn't have to be a degree, but like everybody's birth date, the number, corresponds to a different degree. I think it's based on a month, like 30 days. Maybe it's 20. Yeah, it has to be something like that. And so if you're born on that with that specific number, then it represents a certain thing. And it just was, to me, it just seemed kind of random. I don't really know where they got the symbolism from, but that doesn't mean it's not accurate on any level. That was just my first impression of it. So anyway, so I like numerology. I've heard the number 11. That's my life path, by the way, and I've heard it described as you're walking through this. It's almost like a portal, this doorway. You get it, the two pillars, and so it's almost like a new moon vibes. But it is the full moon, and by the way, sometimes when I've read descriptions of the full moon energy, it almost sounds like new moon because they say it's a great time for manifestation, probably the best time. So this is in your sign, and this is on the 3rd. And this, in the first house, this can be anything that is no longer serving you in your life as a whole that you're dropping. For those of you who have a rising sign between 0 and 10 degrees, this is falling in your 12th house. And there's like some similarities between these types of full moons. The 12th and the 1st. The 12th is more of the inner stuff. The first house can be like outer things, like maybe you're going to leave, you're gonna sell a home, not necessarily in that time frame, but you're like done with a certain area, you're done with a certain job. The 12th house is more like letting go of addictions, letting go of other self-defeating patterns, and that sort of thing. So this can be a time when Capricorn people feel like something is coming to its fruition, because it could be like something that you've worked on coming to fruition, but also coming to some kind of closure. Because that 7th house is engaged and the sun is there, that certainly could be in terms of relationships. And it might be something positive because there is going to be a new moon here later in the month where you realize that you have to let go of something that you're doing in order to make a relationship work. So it doesn't have to be just divorce or anything like that. On the 10th, Mars goes into a fellow Earth sign, Virgo, and this is trining you. And so that's very cooperative energy. The house this is going to enter is the 9th house. And the 9th house is Sag's domain. So it has to do with expansion issues. Mars is very like eager to explore. So you may be booking a trip. Maybe you won't be taking it until September, but you're already getting on the stick and getting involved. But who knows? Maybe you're already overseas and you're, traipsing around. You're like this adventurer. You certainly are going to feel like this urge to go on some long distance journey and be, kind of like be like a globe trekker. And it could have something to do with that full moon. Like kind of like, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to just kind of find myself through my travels. But it's interesting because the 9th house is also connected to the law. I feel that it is connected to the letter of the law, in other words, because it's also the God house. And sometimes I joke that when people are citing or quoting scripture and verse, it's almost like they're legalistic, like they're lawyers trying to make their case. And so this is God and the law. And so because it's connected to the law, you may be in Mars, it can be like some kind of battle or conflict. There could be something that you are challenging, and you may even take the initiative and look it up yourself. I remember I remember going to downtown Chicago because I was going to try to fight this inheritance issue. And I thought to myself, you know what, I can do this myself. I should have been a lawyer anyway, because I have Mars in my natal ninth house. And I was trying to get these legal books. They're the legal library. And there was all this red tape that was preventing me from doing what I wanted to do. And I went up to the librarian because it was like owned by the city. And I said, you know, I'm becoming a libertarian more every day. um, but anyway, yeah, you could be doing something like that. On the 11th, Mercury goes into Leo. And this is your 8th house. So there's this, with Mercury, you might be doing research. And you might be trying to ferret out secrets. Something that, and this is shared resources, like I said, so this could be the person who is trying to find out what exactly is going on with a particular situation that they are not being told. And this is like having Mercury being influenced by Scorpio. So there is maybe there's a deep distrust of what the person's being told on the surface, and you're trying to dig deeper to find out the information. On the 17th, the new moon is at 24 degrees, 56 minutes, almost 25 degrees of Cancer in that 7th house. And so a new day is dawning in terms of relationship. Now, as I recall, I have done private readings where somebody had the new moon in the 7th, and they just got divorced or they were getting divorced. And I think, and it seems kind of strange, but really it's because it's a change, you know what I mean? It's a new status. And even if you never talk to that person again, you still have that connection through, and also because it's a legal house of legalities, it can be, the divorce decree, the impending divorce decree. So that's really interesting because, well, let me talk about the 22nd, because that's when the sun goes into Leo, into that 8th house. So it's joining Mercury there, but also we have Venus retrograding. So Venus is retrograding in Leo. So what could be happening is that Venus can be money, because Venus rules the 2nd house of earned income. Also, Venus rules the 7th house. Sorry if you hear kids shrieking, because I have the windows open and it's not even next door. That's how loud it is. So the 7th house that Venus also rules is committed partnership. So that's, where we get the romantic side of things. But Venus retrograde can bring somebody from your past into your present. But also this idea of money that somehow comes back to you. This is in the 8th house. That's kind of good. Because if you had some kind of an inheritance situation, or even like a divorce, where you felt like you got taken to the cleaners or something was unfair, you might get that money back. So keep that in mind. On the 28th, Mercury goes into Virgo. It seems like Mercury is just zipping through these signs. And so you have Mercury going into the 9th, and that can mean getting your paperwork in order, like your passport, if you're going to be taking a trip, if you're going to college or back to college, back to university. Mars and Mercury here, you could be taking some kind of course or something, but Mars could even be that there is some conflict with all of this, that maybe there's a money situation, you couldn't get your loans together, or there was a scholarship issue. So just keep that in mind, that it might be something you have to resolve at some point. I mean, well, that you're looking into it and taking care of it. Okay, Capricorn, that's what I have for you. Remember, too, that Pluto has gone back into your sign. So you may feel like you are in the hot seat, but on an internal level, searching your soul for ways to alchemize, really transform your life, but not necessarily pointing fingers. And when I say pointing fingers, I really don't mean that somebody's just blaming randomly, but that they are feeling almost like victimized, because sometimes we are the victims of somebody else's bad behavior, but sometimes it really is a good idea to look within and sing, okay, how did I dance with this other person in this situation? It's easy to look at that person's behavior, but what could have I done differently? And that's more empowering, ultimately. It's not blaming the victim. It's really just kind of taking co-ownership. It can be as simple as saying to yourself, I should have gotten out sooner. I saw the signs. Why did I stay? Could be something as simple as that. Okay. Thank you for listening. If you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.